Hi, it's Dave of Urban Astro, and I want to continue the story that I started last week when I shared that I had basically ruined the collimation on my refractor, my Astro Tech 80 EDT. I had been chasing an issue with pinched optics, and it got the best of me, and now my scope has malformed stars. And some of you noted that I could either collimate it myself, which would probably take me months and months and months to learn. And I might do that if I get really, really bored. Some of you just wanted me to give the scope away. And then others of you suggested taking it down to Arizona, which is down in Tucson. And so I probably will end up taking it down to Arizona and see if they can collimate it. And so I started looking for a replacement scope because I didn't want to wait and lose the month of December in terms of imaging, because December is like a great month to image in the Phoenix area. Long story short is I got a replacement scope and used it for one night, and then the clouds rolled in, and it's been cloudy ever since. And this week has just been rainy. So my desire to get a scope, a good replacement scope, hasn't really panned out. I haven't really been able to put it through its paces yet. The one night of subs that I did get, the images look fantastic, and I can't wait to actually train it on some objects and start shooting. So what did I end up getting? Well, I'll get to that here in just a minute. First, I wanted to go over the criterion that I had for what I wanted my next scope to be. So the first thing that I knew was that I wanted a scope that would be somewhat faster. Now, I know that you can get Tashihakis like the FSQ 85, which is like an f3.8, which is a really beautiful fast scope, but that is just outside of my price range. I cannot afford one of those scopes. So I have to look for something that's more reasonable, something that's more within the price range that I can afford. But I knew that I wanted something faster than f6. I've owned a f7 scope. I wanted an f6. And I had one, and I want something a little bit faster. I know that my RC6 is an F9, I believe, and my 10-inch Newtonian, which I have yet to really get set up and play with, is an F4, which is a pretty fast scope and big light bucket, basically. But I have to fine-tune my Lost Mandy, which is what I got the Lost Mandy for. So. But that's a different topic for a different video. So I knew that one of my criterion was that I wanted a faster scope. My second criteria was that I wanted to be within a similar focal range. Now, I first started out with an SV Bony 80 ED scope, and it was an f7. And it had a focal length of 560 millimeters, which was a great focal length, but it made it difficult to frame a lot of targets because it had enough reach that it just made it difficult, especially for the larger targets. And so I moved to the AT80 EDT, which was an f6 scope, which had 480 millimeters. And even that, I found that I wish that I had just a little more wider view. And so I knew that I wanted my next scope to be somewhere in the 400 to 450 range, perhaps. Give me that slightly wider view. There's a lot of large objects in the nighttime sky in the fall, and that scope would be perfect for those objects like the North American Nebula, the Butterfly, the Heart and Soul, and the list just goes on, and the Orion Nebula and the Horseshoe, and you know, there's just a lot of great objects up there. And my third criteria was that as I started reading about telescope designs, I got enamored with the Petzval design. I decided that I was tired of playing with back focus. I run a Pegasus Astro Falcon Rotator, and I have the filter wheel and of course the camera, and it's like 56 millimeters back distance. I try to get different adapters so that I can get it down to 55. I've taken the tilt adjuster off the camera and bolted the camera to the filter wheel, and even then I'm still not within 55, and it's just been a constant battle trying to find the right adapters. I mean, when was the last time you went out to go look for a particular kind of adapter? They all seem to be out, and it just really makes it frustrating. And the thing that I found out about the Petzval design is back focus really doesn't matter as much. You still, I don't know what the back focus requirements are, but the basic rule of thumb, I guess, is that as long as you can get it in focus, you're good. And I found that to be true on the one night that I was able to use the new scope that I've got, that even with the back focus being longer than 55, I was able to get it into focus. So I figured that that's a win. And my last real criteria that I was looking for was I wanted a scope that could support a 44 millimeter image circle, which supports a full frame sensor. Now, I don't have a full frame sensor yet, but I would like to pick one up. And I want to have a scope that can support a full frame sensor. And so those were the four things that I was looking for. And what I ended up picking up, here's the big reveal, is I ended up picking up from High Point Scientific an Apertura 75Q. Now the 75Q is really, if you know your telescopes, it's a rebranded Radian 75 millimeter scope that OPT used to sell. And the scopes are made by Sharpstar. And in fact, the box says that it's powered by Sharpstar. They make no bones about it that Sharpstar is the manufacturer. And it's a quintuplet, so it's got 5 pieces of glass in there, which is good. And it, like I said, it's 75 millimeter, it's f5.4, and it's 405 millimeter focal length. And so that's the scope that, as soon as the clouds dissipate, it's going on now 3 weeks, as soon as the clouds dissipate, I can really take it out and do a real true first light. I did run it one night so that I could troubleshoot, focusing and make sure that all the equipment works. And the subs that I saw from that night, and I wasn't really shooting anything in particular, were beautiful. The stars were perfect, which is exactly what I was looking for. I was looking for perfect stars. So anyways, that's my new scope. And I got it while Apertura had a special sale on it. They had it for 40% off because they're introducing the scope. And so I picked it up for $999. After the first of the year, it'll go up to $1,699. And so I figured it was a really good deal. And so I grabbed it. So anyways, that's kind of my story of my refractor life at this point in time. Unfortunately, I've got no images to show because, well, it's been cloudy. And I haven't really been able to do a real true first light. I just was troubleshooting all the equipment because I had transferred everything over, making sure the filter wheel was set up. I had to get a new micro PC, a new Quieter 3 because the old one was not doing so well, and so I needed to replace it. And so it's been a lot of things going on this fall, and so basically the month of December, as for many others, has just been a total wash. It's really not been a great month for astrophotography. So anyways, that's my update. So if you have any questions, feel free to load them down there, and if I am available, I'll respond to them. And if you want to ask questions about the aperture itself, go ahead and ask. I can tell you what I know. Again, I haven't had a chance to do first light on it, so I'm not exactly sure until I do first light as to how she performs optically. I know that from the subs that I looked at, they looked really, really good, but I haven't really pixel peeped at them because, again, that night was mostly just troubleshooting equipment issues because I moved everything over and needed to set it all back up on a new mini PC. So anyways, if you found any of this to be interesting in any way, shape, or form, please feel free to go ahead and hit the like button down below. And if you're a masochist, go ahead and subscribe. I'd love to have you on my channel and part of the group here. And until next time, clear skies and happy guiding. And oh yes, happy holidays.